What's going on, traders? It's Ricky with Technical Solutions. I do apologize for the late startup, but it looks like we should have everything going. I'm going to be sharing my screen so you guys can see exactly what it is that I'm going to be looking at right now. I am trading AMD. I'm in at an average of $10 and see if it pops up. I'm going to start sharing my screen so you guys can see exactly what it is that I'm looking at. So ECYT, we'll set an alert on this one. It had a nice little pullback, but I want to be alerted when it breaks above. Oh, it's had a pretty solid drop all the way to 180. Let's put an alert if it bounces below. Alrighty, AMD. Let's test. Alright. Just wanted to make sure that I have a nice little microphone going on. CYTR went last or below 59.79. So it looks like it's hitting a resistance. Again, I bought in AMD. This was a swing trade. I was calling it all out last week. And although I got in initially at $10.60, ooh, that's not good. So at 1080, it's at support. That's usually where it should be bouncing at if you guys saw during pre-market hours. So I'm up from an average of 1070 because I was averaging up as it was continuing to rise. Like we talked about many times, like I got in at 1060, but I continued to add more size to my position as it continued to rise. And that was just because AMD looked like a pretty solid buy based on where it stood. But overall, I just wanted to know that I can continue adding to my size when it came to AMD, like continuing to grow in value. Now, if we go back 20 days, the reason that I saw so much potential was because when it dropped down to 1060, overall AMD has stayed pretty well above 1070 and even $11. So although it might not be doing very well, like in the morning, right for the day, in the long run for a swing trade, we definitely do think that this one does have potential. ECYT is now back at 184. And then let's take a look at, let's see. Wow. AMD's popping. Can I close out my position at 1090? I want to hear what you guys have to say. It looks like there's one of you that messaged me. This is a Technical Solutions group chat who's tuning in for the first time. There we go. I'm going to put my limit order to sell at 1090. It looks like during pre-market hours it hit highs of 1096, but I just think realistically for my position of 1070, my average, right, to 1090 should be just more than enough. So I'm going to put 1090. We'll see how CYTR continues to drop. So 1090, continue. Limit 140. Let's see, perfect. Yep. Alrighty. I'm gonna swipe up. Oh man, it's at 1092. What's gonna happen? What the heck? It doesn't say filled. There we go. Wait, did it? So it looks like we're definitely seeing signs of upward momentum, even from that low point of 1080. It's up 1.12% from that point. Wow, what the heck? Robinhood does a horrible job alerting you when you have filled or when you have, I'm so sorry. Let me go. I'm going to log out and then log back in because sometimes it doesn't. No, it still says I'm not filled. What the heck? Level 2? I should be way filled. Is that 1093, 1094? I'm going to completely exit the app. What the heck did I put my order at? 1090. That's the order. Guys, I'm not too sure if you guys could see this, but man, we've been having too many technical difficulties with Robinhood. Let's see. I think it sold, but it's just okay. I just think it's taking time to kick in. That's what I'm hoping. Yeah, because right now it's more at the resistance area. So I'm trying to exit my position. Some of you might be asking if I was trading there. I just got the alert. My order has completed. Okay, history, AMD sell. It actually filled at 1091. And I'll show you guys right here. I don't know if you guys can see my limit. My limit was initially put at 1080, 1090, just like I told you guys. And then I sold my position. It filled at 1091. That was so weird that it actually didn't get filled. So my profit, my purchase price from an average of $10.70, because that's when I continue to average up, that's where I ended up going to. Ended up getting filled at that specific price point, but it looks like ECYT. I'm going to start sharing my screen so you guys can see exactly what it is that I'm doing. Again, I do apologize for being all over the place. ECYT, this is one that we've been following. My goodness, this one had a pretty solid drop right now. If I'm not mistaken, $10. Oh, this is probably a good time to get in for me. Okay, perfect. So if you guys see, the overall low point was $1.76. It looks like it might actually break that support. There's only one buyer and then a bunch of other buyers at 1075, but then there's a bunch of sellers at 1076. So after the stock had a huge pullback, that's where it set its support. It continued to rise and held above it. Um, my goodness. AMD just broke above $11. It's great, and that's happened to me before, and it happens to a lot of us, right? But I had a plan on where I was buying and where I was selling, and that's pretty much it. I have to stick to my plan. Like right now, I'm going to be buying at 177. My goodness, it's rising too quick. Give me 1 second. Ooh, never mind. I was just about to swipe up on my order. It just broke support. 1075. $1.76 was the support, and now it's at 175. So again, you have to stick to your plan. If it breaks support, then it's most likely going to continue to drop. So it shows sellers at 177, buyers at 176 now, and this thing is way too delayed. I'm trying to use, instead of the SMA, because I really didn't like the Thinkorswim SMA layout. I'm trying to use like if I go here to studies, click edit studies, it's displayed EMA, but I'm not really liking it too much. All right, we're at 176 again. It doesn't actually look like it broke below 176, although it did show that there was buyers at 175. I guess the sellers were just too strong. Look at AMD. Look, and that's what I'm talking about. Like my plan was to buy in again. From when I saw the bounce, I bought in again, not at the lowest point. I bought in at 1060, and I continued to buy more into my position. Averaged at 1070, and then ended up selling at 1090. And the reason why was because that was an old resistance, and now it's at 1113. So now I've missed out on about 24 cents per share. But again, you never truly know what's going to happen. So it could have hit 1090 and then had a huge drop. and that would have been it for me, right? But you know, it can continue to rise, and that's great for that. But other than that, I mean, there's not really much to say. It actually looks like JNUG is hitting its resistance and it's getting a pullback. Support is around 725, and it's a little high, so I think it's only doing well because of all the news. I'm gonna go on my other computer. See. Okay, ECYT did break support, and it's gone to lows of 1075, and it looks like it's continuing to drop. It's at 1074 now. So again, we don't want to get in at the lowest point. We want to get in when it starts to rise. So it being at 1074, yes, it's lower than it's ever been before, but that's not initially what you should care too much about. It's more about like, you know, making sure that we get in at the right price. So I'm going to continue looking around to see if I can find anything better. Let me see what you guys are talking about within the group chats. Let's see. Looks like some people having issues with Robinhood as well. Wow. Wow, looks like a lot of you guys can't cancel your order. Yeah, I think that problem that I had also was something that everyone experienced. CYTR, let's see. Wow, okay. So this is what like CYTR was one that we did analysis on. It had a huge pullback, and now it's back at where it was. So I had a pullback all the way to like 51 cents, and now it's back at 70 cents. So that's 21% potential from this huge bounce. I don't know if you saw my alerts going off on the top right-hand corner, but it's continuing to rise. So let me see if I can actually capture this one. So CYTR, oh, that's not it. CYTR. It's going to be a resistance most likely at 70 cents. So buy order limit. Let's say 0.67. It's just a lot of momentum, and that's the thing. It's most likely going to hit its resistance here at 70 and then start seeing a downward trend. So is that margin of profit worth it for me? It's about 2.1 to 2.3%. So let's see if it hits or could break 70. And if it can, I mean, it has potential during aftermarket hours to hit 95 cents, which I think was an old resistance, if I'm not mistaken. Whoa. Let's see. Yeah, that's funny. So it was an old resistance, came down, came back up, and now had a huge pullback. Is now coming back up. So yeah, the resistance at 70 cents was a little too strong. Doesn't look like it's actually doing much there now. Is now seeing a pullback, and that's why you want to make sure that although you do want to capture it when it's seen an upward momentum, you also want to understand, you know, where the resistance is at and making sure that you have at least some margin to make up. So I identified the resistance at 70 cents simply because of the resistance that it had during pre-market hours, not being able to break above 70 cents. Does that mean that 100% it wasn't going to be able to break 70? No, in no way, right? It could have definitely just popped right through and gone up to 95. But realistically, based on what I understand, right, what I can make sense of with this trade. It looked like the resistance just based on the previous trend was at 70 cents. I should have caught it earlier, and that was my fault. It just rose way too quick. So I had a huge pullback. All my alerts were going off. But again, I just didn't react as quick as I should have. And that, you know, there's a lot of people within our group right now that were trading it since you guys were talking about it. And that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to simply say CYTR at 0.70. Go back. And by pullback, what do I mean by that? It hit its resistance and now it's, dropping. It's seen some candlesticks. So it looks like some red candlesticks. So it looks like there's a support somewhat at 65 cents. But let me go ahead and continue searching to see what else it is that I can find. So this stock, like CLSN, you see how it's had growth of 44%. These are huge ones, especially because it's seen all this growth during its pre-market hours. Usually when the market opens, it can have a little spike, but then it has a good amount of pullbacks, and it's all about waiting for the bounce. So I'm going to continue setting my alerts, and it's most likely going to bounce here around like 375, as that was a null resistance. But we really have to see it. If anything, it looks like almost it already bounced at like 380. So we'll have to follow up with this. Ooh, CYTR is back at 63 cents. So CYTR, a pretty solid drop. 60 cents would be most likely. I'm going to set my alert if it goes below that. But hit its low point at like 176 is now pretty much its support. Its resistance is at 179. But other than that, again, and if you understand the small support and resistance within this area, obviously you want to get in closer to the 176 support. And all of a sudden, if it takes a dip, just know that the overall support's at 174, so you can cut losses there, minimizing your loss to like less than 1%, and your potential for profit if it breaks. And I'm gonna wait for this break above 180. And the reason why you might ask is like, well, I'm giving up all this margin of potential profit, which is like 2%. Yes, but I want to make sure that we really start seeing a decent sign of upward momentum, right? So that's just my style of trading. So I'm going to simply set my alert here when it goes up. Dude, this is so exciting, guys. I mean, I love capturing stocks like this that just see huge increases in huge drops and then just have bounces, because I think the potential for this one is going to most likely be it coming back up to this like 190 resistance, and that's like 6.63%. And although I personally didn't capture it, we were talking about it yesterday in our Sunday stock talk, and that was CYTR, which is the one that's now at 65 cents. So it now has it bounced at 63. So that's good. If it breaks above 65, then that means it can most likely continue to rise back up. But this is why we day trade. The reason we day trade is because we identify potential and we wait for it to play out like the way, okay, so look, it just broke above 65 cents. So watch it hit the same resistance. Again, not 100%, right? But it has its support right here. Resistance is right here. So this margin of profit. So again, setting up your plan on where you're buying and where you're selling. This is a 6.5% profit minimum. So with this $1,000 challenge on average to grow your account from $1,000 to $20,000, you need 2.35% only 3 times a week. So that's 7% growth in a week. Now this would pretty much give you that entire cushion for the week almost if you lock in the 6 to 7% profit. But it's all about minimizing loss. So it's never going to always go according to plan. And as you can see now it has a slight resistance at 66 cents. And what's to happen, right? So it's having a little pullback. Now that candlestick ended up closing the green. Let's see if it could break above 63 cents. But that's why you should have your stop loss set every single time you trade. Minimize, your risk or manage your risk, and have a plan for success. Understand that, you're buying when it's going up and not when it's going down. That you're buying, when it's going up and you know where the resistance is at, so you know where to sell. It really comes down to understanding that you're not here to hope for the best, but you're here to learn and analyze and plan to be a successful trader. But a lot of that has to do with understanding that not every trade that you're going to be doing is going to be successful, and that's why this plan of where you're buying, where you're selling, and where you're going to cut your losses is so essential, because you minimize and you manage your risk. But a lot of people aren't okay with losses, don't deal with losses very well, and don't understand really this type of market. But overall, I mean, you can ask anyone within this group. Well, we provide a very supportive community when it comes to understanding this whole just outcome of the market, and unfortunately for a lot of people, that's like losing money. But I think a lot of that has to do with not truly understanding what it is that they're getting themselves into. I feel like a lot of people, like myself, when I was about to get in at 67 or 66, we're going to get in and hope that it was going to continue to rise because it's been rising. But you have to understand it's not always going to continue to rise. You need to understand where there's a resistance, where it's going to stop. And I identified that resistance at 70 cents. And, thanks to God I did, because I would have, stop loss, or would have ended up being in the green or in the red, because I would have jumped in and hoping that it would have continued to rise when I really didn't understand it. So take a step back, analyze, the potential, wait for the pullbacks, wait for the support to bounce at the support and for it to show signs of upward momentum. And then set up your plan on where you're buying, where you're selling, and where you're going to cut your losses. Don't let anyone ever influence your guys' trades, because when it comes to that, it you'll never be like a successful trader when it comes to you going and trading based on someone else's opinion. That's something that you guys have to understand. It really comes down to the importance of you truly understanding what it is that you're getting yourself into. And it looks like ECYT just continues to drop. So let's continue taking a look around and seeing what is going to go on. So AMD is at 1108. So it looks like it had a pretty solid resistance at that 1116. It's now seen more of a downward trend. If you guys can see that, it's had its nice spike, and now it's most likely going to bounce back down. So we'll have to follow up with this one. I'm going to set my alert if it goes below this $11 mark. I just want to stay up to date with AMD. That's simply why I'm probably not going to, I can't day trade it anymore within my Robinhood account, but maybe I can get in a little bit more with my Fidelity account, so I can add, a larger size to it. So JNUG at 1714. That should be its resistance, no? Oh, okay. It had a nice little pullback. Resistance at 1753. So this margin of profit, again, we talked about a potential bounce at about $17. That's about 2.76% profit if it bounces successfully at $17 and hits its resistance again. ECYT now at 172 to 173. Dang, DRYS had a 10% drop today. That's not fun for those that got in. Follow up with this one. So for those that saw the potential for NAK yesterday, it looks like it really didn't. I mean, from where it's opened at, actually, it opened like right here, 156, and it's at 157. So that margin of profit isn't really there, especially if you had to day trade it, right? Get in and get out. So not much potential right there, just because it's not seeing a lot of volume. So what's the other one that we like looking at? FTR. The reason I like looking at this one is sometimes, when it's just a slow day, I mean, this one definitely doesn't see a lot of volume, but what it does do, it has a very consistent trend, and it has really nice little bounces at around 129 to 130, and it has a nice little resistance around 134 to 137, if I'm not mistaken. So it builds this margin of profit if you get in at the low end. Of about like 4 to 5%, especially on a slow day. Again, understanding that the support's at 128, so having your stop loss there, and then when it breaks above 131, I usually just put my limit order at like 134, 135, and I trade this one quite often. But again, volume not really being there, so I'm going to put my alert when it drops below 130, just so I'm alerted. If the day's slow and nothing's going according to plan, then at least I have a fallback stock that I can at least analyze and have something that I'm kind of comfortable trading with. Again, and if I get in at 129, then my stop loss would be at 127.9, right below the 128 support. So my margin for loss would essentially be like less than 1%, which is worth it for me, because my potential for profit is from 130 to like 135 or 134 on the low end, let's say. So that's 2.88%. That's great profit. That's more than I need in a day, and it's something that I understand. So AMD getting closer to that $11 support. JNUG starting to bounce. So it bounced at 714. If you guys didn't see that, yeah, it's rising pretty well. ECYT, man, this one's taking a big drop. ECYT. So like from its market open at 180 to 165, should we get in, guys? One of the first things that you should ask yourself is, well, how's it bounced? Is it showing signs of upward momentum? So it looks like FTR just went below. So market's not really playing according to, the way that I want it to. So what the heck? So I'm gonna buy FTR limit at 1.29. Again, I'm just gonna simply buy a little bit over $1,000 worth of it. And that should be it. So I'm gonna order shares spike. And look, just so I don't know. Some people like comment on my videos, and I completely understand. Usually, like when I trade off my Robinhood fund, like I can't have it like displayed usually like with my other type of accounts. But I'm gonna put my limit order if you guys can see, and it's $1,000.79, 1,079, and it's at an average price of 129. It's very simple. I explained to you guys my whole analysis, my potential for loss with my potential for profit. So I'm simply gonna swipe up and then go from there. I'll let you guys know once I get filled. But overall, um, it's right now at 130. So it did have a nice little drop to 129, but it bounced pretty quickly. And it tends to bounce very quickly. And now, right as I get filled, if I end up getting filled, so it's at 129 now. If I end up getting filled, great. I'll put my stop loss at 1.28, and it makes sense to me. I don't really need anyone to tell me like, okay, well that doesn't really make sense. It's not really a good plan. I'm here for you guys to, always give me your guys' opinion, and I 100% respect that. But you have to understand that no one should, what's up, brother? No one should be a final decision maker on what it is that you choose to dedicate your time in, or what you choose to invest your hard-earned money in. Like you guys are the investors, you guys are the entrepreneurs, you guys are the ones that should be deciding, okay, it makes sense. Let me go ahead and, invest my hard-earned money in this stock. And if it doesn't make sense to you, please, guys, I'm going to end it here because I have a lot of things that I'm going to have to do for the rest of the day. I have to go get my passport because we're going to be traveling to Spain. So we're going to be doing a travel and trade segment. So for those that are in Spain, mainly Barcelona or San Sebastian, please direct message me if you know anyone around there. And I'd love to meet up with you guys. But the last thing that I want to tell you guys is never trade based on anyone else's opinion. And you guys, I think you guys underestimate, how smart you guys are and how much potential you guys truly have. No matter who you are, no matter what age group, no matter how little you know or how much you know, just understand the importance of, just of you being what causes either your success or your failure. I don't know, a lot of people, 90% of people see failure in this market, and that's because they go based on someone else's opinion and because they don't truly understand what it is that they're getting themselves into. Don't be that 90%. Be different. You guys are extremely smart people. You guys are people showing like interest that not everyone else is showing. There's 280 of you guys watching right now, and that's because you don't want to, just have one source of income. Some of you have, maybe one or two already, and want to, just what's it? How do you say it? Just you guys want to, in a sense, explore another avenue for income. And that's a lot of messages that I've been getting. You guys are successful people. You guys own businesses. You guys do real estate on the side. Some of you just are students. And whatever it is, you guys have a lot of things going on, and don't underestimate that. Don't underestimate yourself. You guys are here to be different and help one another out. We're here to provide a supportive community for one another, and we're here to assist one another in our success, and not, subjugate one another to make each other feel bad when we make a mistake, because we're here to learn from one another's mistakes. And that's why I want to promote everyone's mistake, because, you might make a mistake that now can help someone else out, that is barely starting out, and then they'll end up not having to lose money in the same thing that you potentially lost money on, and it's because of you that you've been able to help someone else out. And that's the platform that we want to build. We want to provide a platform that's beneficial not just for experienced traders, but as well new traders, from learning from one another's best practice. But it really comes down to what it is that you guys make it out to be. So overall, I'm going to follow up with my trade on on the different position that I have going on with FTR, but it doesn't look like I've gotten filled just yet. So I'll follow up with that, and then that's pretty much it, guys. Like always, we'll make sure that we end the week on a green note. And if you guys have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to reach out to me within the Tech But Solutions group chat. Just direct message me or tag me, but the best way is to direct message me. I'm gonna have a pretty busy day, so I'll try to get back to you guys as soon as possible. And then we'll make a follow-up video about like 5:30, 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, PM. And then I'll let you guys know how my trades ended up playing out for my last trade with FTR, or if I jumped into anything else. Thank you guys again. Take care.